You're listening to Spartan Up Podcast, where we study success and everything required to create it.
Welcome back to the sunny isles of Pittsfield, Vermont. We're going to go talk to Jared Smith at the Mountain Warfare School, which is one of the coolest places I've almost gotten kicked out of ever. And maybe he's got a lot to tell us about leadership, about
survival,
about survival, maybe thriving.
Today, I'm joined here by Jared Smith, who is a mountain warfare instructor, a Master Sergeant in the Vermont National Guard with 36 years of experience in both active duty and the National Guard, and specializing here in mountain warfare, cold environment, and everything else. And so we want to talk a little bit about what we're doing and the Spartans Agoge, but then we want to expand past that a little bit and talk more about you, your experience.
One of the most gratifying things for me in this Agoge business is working with diverse people, and I'm so pleased with the performance of the people at Agoge. The weather's been terrible, the conditions have been very difficult, and we've challenged them pretty consistently. We've thrown a lot at them in a short time, and their ability to just perform, their teamwork, and their desire to learn is wonderfully gratifying for me and a tremendous motivator.
Well, I've had an opportunity to watch you in your instruction, in your manner, the way you speak to the students. And I want to tell you, just from a guy who's seen professional instructors, NCOs, and everything else, I think you're an outstanding instructor. So I think you're very, very good at delivering the information, but also then motivating at the same time. So how did you learn that skill? How did you become that guy?
As I've come up through the ranks over the years, I've had some tough taskmasters, and they expected two things from me. Number one, to have skills, and number two, to perform, be able to perform those skills. And no excuses.
Right.
Learn and do. And it's a good pattern, I think, to follow. So if I'm going to present or instruct in front of, like that, the Agoge here, or certainly in the military, it puts me in a circumstance where I feel that I need to be able to perform for my students as well. I need to be able to deliver the product to them that I then want to see them deliver back to me. So I think I have a lot of responsibility to give them what they need so that they can see, okay, I understand. Now I can give it back to you.
And do you truly believe you're the best land nav guy out there?
That's the biggest bunch of baloney on the planet.
No,
we'll call that a grabber right there. We'll call that a grabber.
Yeah, no, I think it's a wonderful technique. So you're more old school than new school. I mean, you believe setting standards, task condition standards, setting them, achieving them, and succeeding past them.
I do. I think it's a wonderful model. It's certainly been, for me, a wonderful model in the military. It's made me who I am as a man today. No question about that. And I feel that it's a very easy package to deliver to whether you're a soldier or a civilian or, let's say, a school group of small children or adults. People are attracted to it. If you can deliver with sincerity and vigor and enthusiasm, that is contagious.
Well, it's confidence, right? Confidence breeds confidence. People want to be around winners, right? People want to be around people who are confident.
They do. That's a good call.
And when their safety is at risk,
yes,
there is some there's a measure of security in knowing that the guy you're putting your security in his hands knows what the hell he's doing.
Yes.
We were out there. I didn't see you out there, but I'm sure you've done it many, many times. We were out at the rappelling.
Yes.
And again, as you said, brutal conditions, and watching guys rappel down a 60-foot rock face when they are having trouble manipulating their hands. They need a lot of motivation. So anyway, but let's go a little bit deeper then. When you were a boy, so you've been in 36 years, so you joined the military in the late 70s, kind of coming off the Vietnam era. What did you want to be a soldier? What drove you down that path in the first place? What attracted you to that? Were you looking for something, or did you always know that's what you wanted to be?
That's a great question. That's a great question, Tim. There's a martial history in my family. Goes back to the founding of this nation, and before that in Europe and other places. And so I felt that as a child growing up. And but I think really I think like a lot of young men, I fell into it. And I felt, I was going to go to college and do sort of the normal things.
Right.
But there didn't seem to be the purpose in that I think I was looking for. And I also enjoyed and was looking for strong male role models, some tough guys who were going to shape me up and challenge me. And I think even as a young man, I was looking for that, and I definitely found it in our Army. I found those guys who were going to kick my butt and not take any excuses, take no prisoners, and expect me to work hard and perform.
Yeah, if you're looking to find somebody stronger, faster, tougher, you don't have to look hard. They'll find somebody. If you're looking hard, if you're looking, you'll find it.
Yes.
Now, where are you from? What's your background?
Sure. I'm a Maine boy. I am a Maine boy. I'm a New England boy. My family's been here in New England for almost 400 years. And I grew up in Maine on the coast, and kind of a coastal boy, kind of a waterman. And, I fished and I hunted and I trapped as a boy. Those were very common things. I had mentors, ancient guides and men of great skill in the state of Maine that taught me how to hunt and trap and taught me how to respect the environment and respect my quarry. And these probably are my first mentors to lead me towards what a man can be and what a man should be. His integrity, his ability, and his ability to endure in this very difficult environment.
All right. Well, now let's kind of flip it and go forward. Not to be too personal here, but you're not a young man anymore, although you're still very vigorous, obviously. And we're about the same age, so that's not a dig on you by any means. But how do you maintain kind of that, as Rocky Balboa would say, there's something in the basement, the fire in the belly kind of thing. When you get into, going out at 15 below, not everybody's signing up to do that. So why are you signing up to do it, and what continues to make you do that?
Yeah. I think it's the test of that. I would call it the test. I like a teach, train, test model if I'm, lecturing or trying to work with other people and teach them skills. But I like that model for myself too. So if, like in this environment here, if I can in this environment here continue to be enthusiastic and vigorous and strong, I can benefit from that tremendously. I maintain a youthful vigor and a youthful enthusiasm. I'm not as fast as I was or as strong as I was, but what I can maintain is that incredible vitality of interest in what's going on around me and the incredible vitality of interest in sharing that and getting it in return from someone else.
Yeah. No, I tell people, and this is not anything unique, I can still do everything I used to do. I just can't do it twice in a row.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've been out in weather like this. So let's go ahead and take a break now, and we'll come back and then talk kind of some more lessons learned about just about your life and in general.
Yes, sir.
Hey guys, this is Joe DI with today's Spartan SGX fitness tip. Breathing. Breathing is the best input we have into the body. If we're running, we're probably using our mouth to breathe a lot because we want a lot of oxygen going in and we want our heart rate to increase and our stress response to activate. So if you're trying to relax, focus at work, use your nose. One of the best tricks to control your breath is to breathe in one nostril and out the other. So block one, inhale, block the other one, exhale. Do that 10 to 15 times and feel how it changes you from the inside out. Aru.
All right, so are we back? All right, so welcome, we're back. So as we broke, we were talking about lessons learned kind of. So, you've been a very successful guy. I mean, you've set out to do what you wanted to do, and from all impressions, you love what you're doing. So for keys to success, if you could give somebody out there advice, all of our listeners, to the not only the super athletes or the people who are self-motivated to come out and do a race or an endurance race or something of that nature, but the people who may be overweight or who haven't exercised in a while or haven't challenged themselves in a while, how do they get started? What kind of advice would you give to them to get them going?
I think mountaineering is a wonderful metaphor for life because mountaineering is all about exposure, how you accept exposure, how you manage exposure, and how you overcome exposure. Exposure of conditions, altitude, environment, it's exposure. And I think for a person who is looking for something maybe beyond currently what they're experiencing in life and may feel challenged by that, they need to change their exposure. They need to take on a new peer group. Take a look at a new environment. I don't think the changes have to be that dramatic or difficult or overwhelming, but they do need to take a different look at the day-to-day things that they get exposed to and the peer group that they get exposed to. And from these new experiences and from this new exposure, they can start to see themselves in new ways and start to believe that they can do new things.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. The peer group, there's the whole peer pressure peer group.
Yes.
And there's the expression, you are the sum of your 5 closest friends, those kinds of things. So, and that all makes sense because normally when you see somebody, you can kind of categorize them into one, and we do that as humans, right?
We do.
We do that. But, in my own life, with my children, I told them kind of walk their own path. And if you're good at it, if you're doing what you want to do,
yes,
and you're good at it, you'll notice that others come to you. You don't have to go look for them, right? People will gravitate towards the person that they want to be.
Yes.
If somebody else is already blazing the trail, just get behind them. It's much easier than kind of going out there and breaking through that snow on yourself, right?
It's very effective.
Yeah, it's a much easier way to go. So as a guy who's been an instructor in the military and in civilian world for years, you've seen some excellent students. You've seen some students that weren't so motivated and didn't make it. How do you can you kind of pick out ahead of time the traits who's going to make it or who's not, or is it within everybody to make it, and it's just finding the right motivation or the right instructor to make them make it?
I think what I have found, Tim, most consistently is our own confidence works against ourselves sometimes, and I will prejudge sometimes in my instructor experience, and I'll decide I'll have a group of people, let's say there's 15, 16, 30, 100. I'll prejudge sometimes, and I'll cross people off my list quite quickly, and I think cleverly. And most often I'll be proved wrong. And if I give that person half a chance, or maybe 2 halves a chance, if I try to connect to that person a little bit, and I give them an opportunity to connect with me, boy, does that change the dynamic. And it's interesting how often I've been wrong in my prejudgments and how often people have excelled beyond anything I could have possibly imagined for them.
So do you think it's within everyone to excel, or is that something that you have to kind of teach them to do?
I think it's about choices, and I think my real role as a leader and as an instructor, as a person, as a friend even, is to help people make choices for themselves that benefit them more greatly. And if I can help others make good choices, suddenly the dynamic for them and for us and our relationship and the broader relationship around us changes dramatically.
You're 100% right. And we were talking about this yesterday with somebody out here, and I was very fortunate when I was a young lieutenant that my very first platoon sergeant used to speak to me in a manner would say, "May I suggest this? This is how I have done it successfully in the past, young lieutenant. Why don't we do it this way?" And so he made the choice easy for me, right, to take a proven way that it was successful and follow that. And then as I learned and kind of grew, I would find my own way. But, if you can show somebody the path to success and help them, right? No matter who you are, you probably need some help along the way, right? Nobody got there by themselves. No. So if you're that guy and you can help people, I think people can rise if they want. We did we did a podcast. And really not a student or an instructor, but a guy who came by who was very open about his past, and he had been a drug addict for many years, and then had turned out he's run multiple endurance races, Spartan races, everything else. So he's kind of overcome that challenge. So again, I think it's anybody can do it when it becomes important enough to them to do, right? When it is something they've decided, here's the bar that I want to kind of clear. And again, it's the challenge is how do you go out in 15 below weather and survive that, right? And you're going to teach us how to do it. And so I have confidence in that. But there is a bar there, right?
There's a bar.
And I think that's a pretty high bar myself. And so I think once people accept the fact that they're going to strive for that bar, it kind of comes down to self-motivation. I
agree. I think, again, as an instructor or a leader, we're trying to give people tools. We're trying to fill up their toolkit, a little one thing at a time. I think that's what your platoon sergeant was doing as a young lieutenant for you. He was giving you one tool at a time.
Right, because that's all I could handle.
If he gave you the whole toolkit, you'd drop it on your foot and
absolutely
have no idea.
Absolutely.
But if we can give them one tool at a time, give them an opportunity to kind of get familiarity with that, maybe have some success with that,
Right.
then they're more than willing to take on another tool,
Right.
and maybe another.
You know, Joe Sena talks about future memory. Are you familiar with
Yes,
it?
I am.
And
Yes,
it's a
yes.
fascinating concept to me,
Yes.
is that once you're successful at something
Yes.
and you take on a new challenge, you actually remember what it felt like when you achieved it. And so you're striving to have that feeling of success again. And that's why the whole success breeds success kind of thing, because you want to feel good again, you know, and then it's easier to maintain, right? And then you can actually kind of pick up the pace of those victories, if you will, as well.
For a soldier, being a combat leader is certainly the most challenging experience, I think, to have, and something that we kind of strive for. And I would call it patterning. So as a combat leader, I tried to demonstrate a certain patterning for my peers. So when things were difficult and bad, and when we were in a circumstance where maybe we could make poor choices, the patterning was to make good choices. And the patterning was not to be scared or nervous, but just to worry about the next 5 minutes and follow a good pattern, make good choices, and get to that next 5 minutes with a good pattern and good choices. Yeah.
Have you ever thought to yourself, well, we pushed a little too hard here? I mean, if you could put yourself in a situation, obviously you're sitting here and you're healthy, so you've done well, but have you thought, you know, oops, maybe I shouldn't have stayed out last night. Maybe I shouldn't have. I don't mean stay out drinking kind of thing. I mean stay out in the elements kind of, you know.
Yeah. You know, one of the things I reflect on, it's interesting, it's not a combat thing or really even an Army thing. I had an explorer group for a while in the early 90s. Great young people, high school kids. You know, we had an explorer post for mountaineering. And when I look back at some of the things that we did, I wanted to challenge these people. I wanted them to be excited. I wanted to take them out in the mountains and do things, and we did. And when I think back now on some of the things we did then, it scares the heck out of me.
Yeah. 2 final questions for you.
Sure.
One, if you could kind of give 3 tips for everybody, kind of 3 tips to success, and then we always close out with what's your favorite exercise? What do you like to do?
All right. The 3 tips that I have for people, this is my kind of my mantra, and it's do the job, do your best, pay attention. I think if you can do those things consistently, or when chips are down a little bit, if you do the job, do your best, and pay attention, you're going to be okay.
All right. And
my
favorite exercise?
Yeah, my favorite exercise, you know, I'm not going to kid you, it's splitting wood. I love splitting wood with a maul. I love, you know, going out a big pile of wood with a splitting maul and making cordwood.
That's a great exercise.
I love it.
So what I really liked about that, in terms of tying it into what Spartan's doing, is we bring a lot of people here to Pittsfield, and I've directed a race here that had them in and out of the water, out in the cold. You were here at Agogi, and, you know, dealing with those kinds of colds. This is a guy that his job is teaching people how to survive in situations like that. So we bring people here. Some of them arrive badass. Some of them think they're arriving badass, and some of them leave not as badass. He's a guy who teaches you how to be
tail
badass.
between
I think
their
that's
eyes.
actually pretty cool. You know, that his whole thing is, I'm going to teach people how to, as you said, sort of thrive. I like that word, but in tough conditions.
Well, and he does it by exuding confidence, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there was a little clip there, and I asked him, hey, do you think you're the greatest land nav guy? That's because at the Agogi, he's teaching the class, he's teaching the students to land nav up and down this mountain at the dark, you know, in the woods, no lights and stuff. And he tells them, I am the greatest land naver in America, in the world, you know, and I teach all the different 3-letter agencies, and I teach the military, and I teach all of those people. Now, he kind of evaded whether any of that was true or not, but the point is,
FBI, CIA.
Yes.
Okay.
So the point is that he exudes that confidence when he's teaching, and the students, whether it's those students, whether it's when he's in uniform, or whether he was in a business world and trying to be in a corporate boardroom or something, he exudes that leadership and that confidence, and everybody immediately buys into it. I'd imagine they do, because I tell you, I was sitting there as an observer, and I thought, wow, he is good.
It's the alpha leadership.
Yeah, and he basically said, look, I need to deliver. Like, I'm up here, I'm teaching. It's my job to deliver. For me to expect anything back of them and to be able to demand from them, I need to be able to demand for myself first. So I thought, you know, leading by example for sure.
I got a lot from that. In my role as an emergency physician, when I show up and the department's chaotic, hundreds of patients waiting to be seen, ambulances queuing up, when he talks about patterning and just that phrase of just get through the next 5 minutes, that's so applicable for me to my job. And I think a lot of people could learn from that when you're really, really busy, just being able to break it down. But patterning, leading by example, you know, helping, like you said, other people to make the right choices, not just doing it yourself, but helping others to do that. I think that's a nugget I'm certainly taking away from this one.
Yeah, and then he also talked about, when I was asking him about, could he triage essentially behavior? Could he pick somebody that was going to make it or not make it just on look? And he kind of thought he could. He said he could, but then he admitted that he often makes mistakes. You know, that, again, it's hard to look at somebody and judge what's inside of them, you know? Mm-hmm. You can look outside, but it's really in the mountain warfare school or, in an agoge or in any other environment, it's really what's internal, not external, that's driving the person. So basically he's about giving people chances to prove themselves, and he gives everybody the tools, and it's up to them to raise their standard or their bar to where they're going to make it.
And he says, and he also says that he gives people the power and the skills and the knowledge so that they can make better choices for themselves. That was something that you remind me of that he said, Johnny. And I think this whole concept relates to business in the sense that, like, if you make the analogy of land navigation and knowing the topography of your business and where you're going, sometimes you don't know how to navigate through a difficult situation with what you're facing, if it's something that happens in your marketing or financials or whatever it is. But if you have the skills and you have the tools in your toolkit to understanding like tree lines, sights of vision, common patterning, stars, there's not that those are in the boardroom, but if you've gone through difficult situations before and have to navigate yourself out of it, you can start to translate those same type of skills, that survival skills, instill awareness and like the self-reliance and this resiliency that kind of can give you the confidence to use that in any facet of your life. So I think that, him role modeling that is making you more confident in the woods, but can also make you more confident in your environment, whatever that may be.
Yeah, he talks about exposing yourself to things, and the idea that, when you come to expose yourself to tough conditions and use that to shape who you are and to draw more out of yourself. And I like that he said that you have to look at what you're exposing yourself to and that you can change that. Sometimes you need to change your exposure, change the people that you're around, change the people that are influencing you, and you'll be able to learn new skills. And so, again, that's very applicable in life. We look at our kids, and if we have a child that is not thriving, look what you're exposing them to. And if they're watching TV every night and they're eating crappy food and they've got friends that aren't very motivated, that's what they're going to reflect back. So what can we expose ourselves to? What can we expose our families to, our employees to, that's going to broaden their scope and give them new skills?
Yeah, and I think, I just want to put this out there quickly because it's exactly what you're saying. I think the U.S. Army, but particularly the Vermont National Guard, is very fortunate because they've got him. One of the other instructors, Chris, I've forgotten his last name. I'm sorry for that. But world-class instructors, but just professional NCOs, non-commissioned officers, that were out there that have gone well past the 15, 20, 30-year mark in their careers, and are still just doing it because they like doing it. And they're extraordinarily good at it. So Vermont, you can rest assured you've got some of the greatest NCOs I've ever seen out there.
And the Mountain Warfare School, talk about a cool place. I had the privilege of dropping one of our friends off there because he's in the National Guard. But what is that? They're like, oh, it's a biathlon training course, right? That's like where you shoot guns and ski. And then, I had started my tent camp and I see like the coolest tent camps and Unimogs and all these amazing toys and that you can just go intrepidly into the wilderness with. That's a pretty cool place.
Oh, it is.
It is.
I would.
You can go repelling and the rest of it.
You know what else is a very cool place?
What? Where, Johnny?
Our website, SpartanUpPodcast.com.
Beautiful.
I may not be a mountain warfare instructor, but I can take us out of an episode like no one else. So go to www.SpartanUpPodcast.com. Check us out on YouTube, on iTunes. Subscribe, like us, all that stuff. Thanks so much.
Get a compass.
Johnny paid attention.
Thank you for watching another epic story of success. If you like our message, please share Spartan Up with your friends and subscribe on iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you catch our show, maybe in the woods. Spartan Up is brought to you by Spartan Race. To find a race near you, visit Spartan.com.